Good evening, everybody, and welcome into this Speed Gaming presentation of the Link to the Past Randomizer 2022 main tournament. I am main DM. I am joined alongside in the booth by Careless Rex. Rex, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. It is a lovely Friday, and I'm really excited. We've got a hot race off the grills for you guys today. I can't wait.
Yep, we've pulled tournament keys for the Game 2 between Jaejo36 and mooglecharm this evening. This is a key sanity mode. The goal is 7-7, defeat Ganon. The castle tower keys are in their vanilla locations, and the Ganon's tower big key is guaranteed to be in GT somewhere. Other than that, it's all fair game.
I can't wait to see where the keys end up today.
Sometimes keys can turn out to be pretty terrible. Sometimes it can turn out to be really nice. I've seen a couple of really nice ones recently. Maybe we get that. Maybe we're here for 2.5 hours. We'll just have to wait and see. Our runners will get going here in the next minute-ish, probably a little less at this point, and then we'll find out.
I can't wait for it. We'll see. What are the odds that every single key is in its vanilla location?
Given that there are 40-some of them grand total, I would have to think fairly low, but somebody's going to have to do the math on that one for me.
Yeah. I'd imagine there's some... It's probably in the billions or something. I wouldn't know, though. I'm no mathematician. All right, both runners opting to do the sanctuary start.
Certainly reasonable, just interesting to see both runners decide to start at the same place and then instantly choose to diverge.
Yeah, I suspect Abigail, I think that's the sprite from Stardew Valley, is going to be doing a hula hand.
Yeah, I believe you are correct on that one. Meanwhile, Mog is kind of roaming around over here, throwing bushes at guards, probably getting ready to set up that tier 1 tree pole over here somewhere, perhaps?
You know what? I'd be surprised if you were wrong about that.
And it looks like the guards are in the bomb pool, so...
Love to see that.
Part of dueling the early hula hand here would be, well, I have money to buy bombs, but guards being in the bomb pack means you don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, so I suppose unless... there's money right there, too, so... Unless Moogle is unable to find 50 more rupees, then I don't think there's going to be anything left behind in Kakariko. Well, would you look at that. Money for the bottle vendor.
Yeah, whichever tier of tree pole that was, I didn't really notice how many guards died in the end while Moogle was trying to farm those bombs.
But don't quote me on that.
That may have been a tier 1 tree pole. If he had wound up killing 4, that would have been a tier 2 tree pole instead, which is a little less convenient to get at.
Yeah.
Jaejo, opting for those 50-50 bushes south of the grove, finds one bomb and says, "That's good enough, I have the money to buy more. This gets me through a race game just in case."
Yeah, it's good to have that one if you're going to be going into Kakariko on the south side, because you never know. You run into hook shot on the race game, and then you're like, well, I got to go find a bomb now.
And I think that was 300 rupees. Jaejo saw it. I only think I saw it, but whatever it is, he wants it.
Definitely. We're seeing him go over there. If it's money, I wouldn't know why you'd want to go if you have money. If it's money, because you already have 226 at this point, so you got enough for bottle vendor, unless you're desperate to get to Zora. Oh, there we go.
So what I thought was the side of a 0 was in fact a small key. That makes more sense.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a key to Desert Palace. So let's see if we find a book here. Also, to note, Bombos was in the forest.
And Moogle has turned up a glove as well, I believe, in Blind's old hideout. So, reasonably effective early games. Now, speaking of 300s, that 300 looks nothing like a key, but Moogle just found one.
And there's our book. So we got a book and a key to Desert Palace. And a glove.
If we can find a big key and a fire source, all of a sudden we're in business for the early game.
Yeah, it's pointing that direction at least.
And then we start seeing small keys to something like Skull Woods, which are really more of a logical implication than an absolute necessity. Having one is nice, having more than one is not really all that hugely important.
Yeah, Skull Woods being one of those ones where you can, because the logic assumes you're gonna use the keys in the worst way possible, which makes sense to do it that way. But the runners being so, what's the word I'm looking for? Good at the game, I suppose. I doubt we'll see a situation where they're gonna need to find every single key for a particular dungeon, depending on the dungeon, of course.
There are a few where you are going to have to find some of those keys to get through. The big keys in most of the dungeons wind up being required, although there are a handful of exceptions. That Swamp Palace small key is one of those that you look at and you say, that locks away a lot of checks.
It does. And the interesting thing about Key Sanity that I like watching is that some of these dungeons that normally have only 2 checks in them, suddenly with Key Sanity, it's like, wow, that's like 8 checks in this one dungeon. So it changes the way you approach the game. Yeah, we're going to see mooglecharm pick up their Desert Palace key. While Jay probably going to get their glove. Oh yeah, so we have a big key to Skullwoods, and we got a small key in the well to Skullwoods as well.
It is convenient to have that Skullwoods big key before you wind up with the Dark World access. That way you can just pick it up on your first trip through, not have to worry about it later. The problem comes when you've already cleared the entirety of the front, you still don't have a fire rod, and that big key shows up, and you look at it and you say, how am I ever supposed to do anything with this?
Yeah. Knowing you have this ahead of time is going to help them, I'm sure, with some routing. And we might even see them just wait until they find Fire Rod before doing anything in Skullwoods. But we don't even have Dark World access at this point, so there's going to be a time before that. Okay, and we got the Fighter Sword in the back of Escape.
Nice to have
an early ped check.
Offensive firepower in the early game, and a rupee hoard. So one of the 300 rupee packs was just rocking its way there on the ped, just kind of hanging out, doing its own thing.
Maybe it's too soon to say, but I think we can safely say that ped is dead.
Seems reasonably safe to say that we can write that one off.
Okay, all right.
Particularly with, again, we're kind of operating under the assumption that that's a tier 1 tree pole that's dropping 80 rupees.
Oh yeah, that's right, yeah. This is a very rich seed early on, though, I gotta say. Both runners already have money for Zora. And surprisingly, Moogle having more, not doing the Houlihan. I'm not sure. I'm sure Jay's gonna be getting some more money, because I can't imagine he's gonna put off some of these checks that Moogle's doing right now.
Yep, he'll wind up there sooner or later, sees that heart piece on the lumberjack ledge. Yep, tier 1 tree pole, Moogle going to have all the money in the world.
Oof. Yep, that's not going to be a problem this seed.
Which is nice, since the stun prize turned out to be a single rupee, which is a vanilla stun prize, and not terribly useful. Now, before we get too far down the road, we should say that Moogle did find the flute there in the Uncle Tunnel.
That's a good find, for sure. I want to activate that as soon as possible. And that puts some of the mountain into logic, though you might not want to go up there because that may be like 1 check and then you can see. Oh, well, there's our Moon Pearl. That's helpful.
just a hammer or a second glove away from Dark World access, and speaking of that mountain, Jaejo sequence breaking his way right on up, going to get a bottle with red potion for the effort.
Okay, not going to check what's up there at the top of the mountain, which is understandable, being out of logic and all that.
One additional thing that you can pick up if you really want it, and a sight check for the amount of time it takes to get up there when you have just gotten this glove. You can go in, check the back of escape. There are other options that are a little more of a positive time investment, shall we say. And there is our second glove in the blue boomerang chest.
And with that Skull Woods, it might be tempting to maybe not do Skull Woods, but definitely check Village of Outcasts. Because you're really hoping right now for a fire rod, and then you can say, well, I'll get Skull Woods out of the way. But we're not even sure whether that's a pendant or crystal at this point.
And in keys, sometimes you just make the play and you find out.
Yeah, it's definitely a defensible play to just do the dungeon without the knowledge of whether or not it's a crystal and hope for the best. I mean, chances are it's going to work out for you.
Moogle setting the intentional death warp there. I'm guessing that we're going to see Dark Cross.
Yeah, don't want to leave this behind.
Last thing in the castle, just go ahead and mark it off the list.
Yeah, because if it's something like Hammer, that might change your routing completely at this point. But right now, it seems like we have some direction on where to go. Still looking for a light source of some kind. So this will be out of logic without lamp or fire rod. And a second bottle for Jay.
Yeah, an in-logic bottle this time.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to, I guess we're gonna see some of Desert Palace at least. Maybe there's something on the ledge worth getting.
Ah, the big key to Misery Mire there in the dark on mooglecharm's side.
Ah. well, Misery Mire, big key. I guess we're hoping to have go mode by the time we get to there and we can just go straight to Vitreous.
We have the big key, we have the mitts and the pearl and the flute. If we can get some boots or a hook shot, and if Bombos is the required medallion, theoretically we can enter.
Yeah, true. Now, Jay going into desert without checking the other side of the South Shore, I think it's kind of a bold play, especially considering we don't have a fire source to complete it, and we're not sure whether or not this is a pendant or crystal.
Jaejo does have the map to this, and we do see that C in the
it is
corner of the HUD, but we do not have the big key, so even without the fire source, there's not a whole lot of concern about completing this at the moment anyway.
I guess hoping for something here.
Hoping for a little value, we did see a big key over on Desert Ledge, so likely to be something that he picks up before he leaves the area.
Yeah, it might be an important big key here. It remains to be seen. While mooglecharm is going to do their South Shore. Well, the dam specifically. Okay, key to Turtle Rock.
Provided that it's a crystal dungeon, we'll need at least 3 of those to beat the dungeon, so it's always nice to have the first one.
Some kind of compass there, so boots are not going to be necessary to get that item. Oh yeah, and I missed it. That was a Dark Palace map that was in front of the dam. And mooglecharm, more traditional play here to do mini Moldorm Cave. Oh, it's the Turtle Rock. Okay, there's a keeping the keys, the big key and small keys, close together. I see.
Yes, and as far away as you could possibly get them from Turtle Rock.
That's true, actually.
1 dimension and a complete shift southwest of the dungeon away.
This is proving to be a very interesting seed, and we see Hookshot, so mini Moldorm Cave definitely, along with Quake, Compass to Hera, and some bombs. So that hook shot gonna come in handy, especially now that we have Dark World access and Moon Pearl.
And it certainly does begin to feel like we are able to get into Misery Mire here. Now that we have a 2/3 shot on the medallion and the hook shot.
Yeah, and with that big key, it does make a lot of sense. And you could definitely go check that area, and then you've got some of Desert Palace that you can look at if you wanted to route that in as well. Since you have the book, but we still need the mirror in order to make that happen. All right, and do we see the fake flippers today? No, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, particularly without the boots, it would have been faster to flute 8 there, even if he wanted to do so, but Moogle deciding that the mountain is more interesting, and with that hookshot in the inventory already, I cannot blame him.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of checks that open up with that hookshot. And it's unfortunate that Jay made the play to sequence break up to the mountain, because that hookshot, they're going to have to make another trip up there. It's going to spend some extra time that they could have otherwise saved.
I guess the mild saving grace on Jaejo's side would be that he did choose to only rescue the old man and then save and quit away, so he has that save and quit point.
Oh, that's true, yeah. So it's not going to be terrible. Although Jay has not done hasn't got his flute yet. So that save and quit is going to be very helpful if he decides to do that.
The larger problem for him at the moment would be the fact that Moogle has both gloves and is going to be able to do Dark Mountain along with Light Mountain when he decides he wants to go up there.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping, for Jay's sake, that he saves and quits to Sanctuary. But it looks like we might see a fake flipper here.
Fake Flipper is certainly an interesting choice here. Without the Moon Pearl, you can't do the little stand-up trick in and out of the waterfall cave. So this is really just a check for Hobo, and then if you want to swim all the way to Zora to check Zora, you can. You have enough money to do it, and the glove means that it is a logical check, but it doesn't feel so great. Yeah,
it seems like I'm hoping this pays off for Jay, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense to this seed's sort of like, here's hookshot, and if Jay would have done Sanctuary already, or not Sanctuary, the castle, done Escape, then I suspect he would have also gone to the mountain at this point. But not having delayed that, it's really kind of putting him behind, because Moon Pearl, the glove upgrade, both were in there, I believe.
Indeed they were. Now, mooglecharm's going to give us the 7 items worth of density out of Paradox Cave here, starting with Paradox 2.
The actual hype cave, as I like to call it.
That looked like a small key up on the island there, Hylia Island.
Oh yeah, we might need that. Okay, what sort of goodies await us here in this item dense location? More money. Well, there's powder.
We'll need a hammer or a mirror to turn that powder in. Small key to Hyrule Castle. 1 Misery Mire small is convenient for checking Mire, if that's really what you want to do. Oh, and mooglecharm did sight check that while he was in the area. It is Ether to get into Misery Mire, the one medallion we do not have.
Well, that's unfortunate. So this is going to be an all medallion seed. Not necessary, but oh hey, bow on Zora. So not entirely a huge waste of time, though. The bow doesn't necessarily open up anything for you that mooglecharm isn't going to be able to get when he decides to do Zora. It just depends on how long he puts that off. And we still don't know what's in Waterfall Cave either because of the situation. So Jay's probably going to be kicking himself once he gets his Moon Pearl here. Like, I should have delayed the Zora check.
If I could have waited just one more minute, I could have checked it all.
Yep. Never feels good when you have to sort of fragment your routing like that. A very cheap inheritance from Uncle. And Jay picking up his flute. Hopefully he finishes the rest of this to get his Moon Pearl and glove.
This is the kind of situation where once you've made the choice to come over here, you're really just going to go ahead and do all of it. If this is not your opener, if you're not a dirty uncle router like myself, you're waiting until you have a real weapon, and then you're just going to clean out the whole thing at one fell swoop.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to delay that. All right. Okay, yeah, just a short bit of technical difficulties, but it looks like we're back.
Ah, the wonders of the internet.
Yep, strikes again. Things looking good over on Jay's side here. Gonna pick up his glove in just a few moments. And I can't remember what was in Dark Cross.
Dark Cross was the big key to Mire.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I don't think Jay's going to be leaving that behind either, despite it being out of logic. So I'm not sure what was in the hookshot cave there. I think we missed that.
Big, a TR small. I missed the first two while we were catching back up on Moogle's side, and I have no idea what was in Super Bunny. So
we'll wait for Jay to get over there.
Yeah, one of these first minutes, Jaejo is going to wind up over there, and everything will be okay.
Our knowledge will be complete at that point. Well, complete up until this point. All right, a little bit of love from the sick kid.
Aha, Jaejo with that quick map check shows us that Tower of Hera is one of our 5-6 crystals today.
Ah. And at least according to chat, I think the Hera Big, you might have even said it, Hera Big was in the hookshot cave. Possible. Gonna go ahead and check all of these because there's a lot of checks now in Skullwoods, given that it's key sanity. So even though we don't have the fire rod to be able to complete it, it does make sense to dip in here because it's a pretty item dense location. Oh, getting grabbed by the hand.
A little bit of an unfortunate placement of that wall, Master. Yeah, that's a real-time RNG manipulation for later in the run.
Yes, there you go, everybody. Don't worry, mooglecharm did that on purpose to, for some reason, just trust us. Oh, a little bit of defense upgrade here from Moogle. Now that actually was an intentional wall grab for real this time, since we don't have mirror. And you probably don't want to set up the death warp. Considering
it can be okay to walk out of there when you have Cane of Samaria because the block disappears, but having to push that statue back out of your way, unless you literally just by the barest of frames missed your ride out, you really don't want to be pushing that. And then, there you go, in the front, Cane of Samaria shows up just a little late
there. Too bad you didn't have that just a few screens earlier. Nice bomb jump there. 4 bombs. Well, appropriate. Bomb jump for bombs.
Spend 1 bomb, gain 3. Why not?
That's definitely, yeah, stonks, as the kids say. It's very explosive Skull Woods. Okay. Ice Palace, without flippers, Ice Palace is not in logic. But with Bombos, assuming we had flippers, Bombos would put it in logic, correct?
It would. You would maybe hesitate to go there for a little while with no hammer, but such is life sometimes. The hammer can absolutely be in a handful of checks in there.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of really unfortunate places hammer could be. Okay, Turtle Rock is a crystal. We picked up the map for that earlier, so I'm sure Mooglecharm showed that to us as well. And we know that it's also Bombos to get in. I'm missing the clip through the stone there. But we're gonna get an answer to our question soon. What was the remaining checks that we missed?
I don't think anybody would have missed those 5 rupees that Mooglecharm just picked up. Super Bunny Cave is a piece of heart. And a small key to Ice Palace. Okay.
Oh, well.
That makes routing a little more convenient if we don't have the cane, but of course we have the cane. Or at least Moogle does, and now Moogle has the mirror as well.
Now that's a really good find right about now. Now, do you do Smith Chain after you finish the rest here? Or I guess it depends on what you might find here in Thieves Town.
It seems reasonable, especially in a mode like Keys, where you're looking for so many things yet. It does terminate in kind of an interesting position where if you carry that purple chest all the way down south, you're kind of on top of the Swamp Palace. And do you want to check the first chest there, hoping that the hammer's there, or kind of praying that it's not?
True. Yeah, so the big key of Hera, but also the cape was the one I think we missed in Hookshot Cave. There's that ever so useful map to Skull Woods right now. I guess we can see whether or not it's a crystal or a pendant, so that'll be helpful.
It is nice to eventually land on having something that approximates full knowledge.
Yeah. More money. Lots and lots and lots of money.
Mooglecharm over the 1,000 mark already.
Might need to consider investing at this point.
May want to go over the...
Oh, sorry. I was going to say Mooglecharm hasn't picked up his bow from Zora yet.
Yeah, that's going to cover a decent amount of that. I was going to say you could go over to the witches and invest in a little safety at some point.
That's absolutely the case. Those blue potions come in handy. All right, Jay gonna pick up his Cane of Samaria pretty shortly, while Mooglecharm doing the Smith Chain. Now, unfortunately, without the hammer, we won't be able to see what's in hammer pegs, so we're gonna have to orphan that. Not intentionally, just don't have a choice.
And this is a point in time where you start thinking, do I really want to throw away my current Dark World access and check the magic bat while I'm here?
Well, yeah, with the powder, it's very tempting. Especially having found mirror. It's definitely an option.
That was a creative use of the cape mechanic there by Jaejo, just equipping the cape and pulling the statue. The hand says, well, I can't see you, so I can't grab you.
That is a little quirk I wasn't aware of, actually. I didn't know that the cape could save you from that. Suppose it makes sense, though.
You'll see it in other places. A lot of players, when they're checking Tile Room in Ganon's Tower, will like to go for that strategy, but I don't know that I had seen it employed in that particular location before.
It's a really good spot. I mean, a lot of times, that room's really easy if you have the Cane of Samarian. With randomizers, it's very likely you'll have that cane. But yeah, it's really good use of that, and yeah, I've never seen it before either.
And mooglecharm did opt to make the magic bat check at the time, going and getting the Dark World access back, because K45 is still a thing that exists, and that was the one thing that you kind of worry about leaving behind if you choose to sacrifice your Dark World access there.
Yep, and we won't be leaving it behind today. Moogle's already checked digging game. So we're probably going to get Cave 45 and see what Tree Stump Man has for us today. It's a little too bad we don't also have Shovel, because it'd be probably one of the more convenient times to have it. And get that one out of the way check done with all this other stuff here. Oh, what was on the ledge for Bumper Cave? I missed that.
Piece of Heart, I believe.
Okay. I suppose it would have been something, if it was something important, Jay would have gone out there to get it, because we have the cape, so. All right, Jay, sort of following in Moogle's footsteps here, gonna pick up his mirror as well pretty shortly here, while we see what's hiding in the purple chest. Now with the book, we could check what Bombos tablet has for us, but we can't get it yet. We need an upgraded sword.
And I expect we are going to see that check. It's one of those things, you're in the area now, find out whether or not you ever have to come back, rather than just kind of abandoning it to the fates.
Yeah. And, I mean, to be fair, Moogle hasn't even checked anything else in Desert, so if he wanted to route in some of the Desert checks with the items that he has, he could do that. There's a Gina as well. But I think right now, he's going to need to get his bow at some point. We're still on the hunt for that hammer.
Speaking of the bow, that was a small key to Palace of Darkness on the Bombos tablet.
Ah. Oh, yeah, so... Okay, well, how many keys do we need for Palace of Darkness?
That depends entirely on how much of it you really need to do. The logical breakpoints are at 1, 4, and 6 small keys.
My goodness.
But it's a pendant dungeon, so how much of it do you really want to do? Where, if anywhere in it, is the progression that you seek?
Hammer's gotta be in Hype Cave, right here. Oh, a lantern, okay. So with Lantern, and we know that Bow is on Zora, does that put Eastern into logic then at that point? With assuming we would have the keys, which we're probably still looking for. We need the big key.
Yeah, lamp will make everything in there logical except the boss, for which we need that big key that you just mentioned. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see Moogle wind up there at some point.
Yeah, if he gets his bow, it's a pretty tempting place to go check. But even without the bow, because at that point you can check everything, just not the boss. Because the bow is only needed to get to the room where the boss is anyway. So, and then there's the 3 checks with Sahasrara. So, I guess it makes sense to go over there and hope you find Hammer along the way.
Mooglecharm giving a little of this Desert Palace time back while Jaejo is cleaning up the dig game and likely to start landing on the Smith sequence.
Yep. I can't imagine. I mean, yeah. Going into Desert Palace didn't yield any progression, so I guess depending on what's in Turtle Rock, what's locked behind that key, whatever else. There was that big key there on the ledge, so it's possible that you needed to come here before you're able to fully complete it. Although, actually, with the lantern, I completely forgot. We still need the big key, but we do have the lantern, so lighting those torches won't be a problem.
Moogle is going to give us one new check that Jaejo was unable to do at the time. Having this mirror in hand, we do get Checkerboard Cave.
A key. Okay.
A key
Almost,
with logical implications only.
And it seems almost like intentional to have been left there, like something the devs would have done. It being so close.
And the compass to Misery Mire over there as well. You start wondering, but until the Ether Medallion appears, wondering is all you get to do.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating to have the current loadout that these two have, and then to have those keys and the compass and then the big key to Mire, and be like, I just can't check anything in there? Fine. Especially considering they've got 2 of the 3 medallions. Okay. So now we have the big key to Tower of Hera. We might also see what's on Ether Tablet. Oh, well, we get the Graveyard Ledge by Jay. This is a check we haven't seen yet.
And that was another one of those Turtle Rock Smalls on top of Spectacle Rock.
Yeah, we're at 3, which 3 was the magic number for logic.
Well, 4 is the magic number for logic. 3 if you're going to skip the vanilla big key location, what people like to call the lava chest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But with no fire rod and no ice rod, it's not as though you're going to be able to defeat the boss right now anyway.
Very, very true. Still a lot of items we need. We're hoping for the boots to show up here soon. We're going to see a Hera pot here. Which makes sense. You're here, you might as well. Hope it's a crystal. And worst case scenario, it's... Or best case scenario. Best worst case scenario, it's the green pendant.
Yeah, something that Jaejo checked that Mooglecharm did not gave him the map to this, so Jaejo knows that this is a 5/6 crystal. Moogle's just going to pull it blind and be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I'd imagine very pleasantly surprised. All right. Oh, well, there's the bow, so he's not even going to need to go to Zora. That just sort of worked out for him along the way.
That is fairly directly on the path, so we can pretty much operate under the assumption that Jaejo is going to wind up on silver arrows. Moogle, depending on whether or not the Zora area ever becomes something that he wants to do, may bypass that second bow.
That might have some interesting long-term effects here. We might have to remember that this happened. Because, yeah, it's very true. If Moogle finds everything that's needed, there's no reason to go all the way out of your way to check Zora.
Oh, and the worm turns for mooglecharm, going back down to floor number 5 and going to have to restart the fight.
The infamous boss that gives no runners any problems ever at all, always goes smoothly. Moldorum.
See, I thought you were talking about Helmasaur King.
You might have thought that.
Or, maybe Lanmolas? Cold Stare comes to mind.
Boy, these bosses weren't very friendly, were they? We almost saw another one without mooglecharm employing the ever useful cape strats. As we get a reminder on Jay's side why Hype Cave isn't all that hype, though seeing that lantern is probably pretty nice.
Yeah, it's still the first and only light source that we found, so any kind of torch puzzle we need to go through right now, that's our ticket.
Indeed. Though I can't imagine the Turtle Rock one with with lantern. Is that even possible?
Well, if you have the boots and you are an extremely good hoverer, theoretically I think it might be, but I wouldn't recommend it. Does not sound like a race-safe thing to attempt.
That would certainly be a sight to behold. That would definitely make it up there on the clips, for sure.
But speaking of Turtle Rock, even without the fire and ice rods, the seed really has been feeding our runners the things that they need to go and make a play there. And I was mildly surprised that Moogle did not go in after going to Tower of Hera.
That would have been a pretty good play because of, like you mentioned, we've got so much. And sure, we don't have the rods. We can't complete the dungeon. But there's a lot of checks in there. Maybe progressions tucked away. I suspect Moogle might end up going over to Eastern with having picked up that bow and Hera, I believe. So we might see a dip into Eastern and what Sahasrahla's been hiding.
The bow does give us a couple of logical checks in Palace of Darkness as well to go along with the handful from the first of our small keys. So it's not a bad idea to be over in that eastern pod area. Looks like we're going to get a kern jump here to get into that general vicinity.
Oh, the joys of still not having flippers. Running out of bombs. It's a tough trick to do.
And it appears that maybe Moogle has decided, you know what, I have other means of getting into the water here. Let's try those.
Yes, maybe some more consistent tricks or ones they're more comfortable with. Speaking of which, there we go. I believe that was that a version of the splash delete?
That was splash deletion using a Samaria block, 2 bombs, and the sparkle effect of the red boomerang.
That's amazing. That's amazing knowledge to look at your inventory and be like, okay, look, this fake flippers I'm trying to set up isn't working. What do I have? I have bombs. I got red boomerang. Okay. Cane of Samaria. I'm gonna delete this splash. Oh, I suspect Moogle is gonna be picking up silvers. I can't imagine leaving all these checks behind when you're gonna be checking catfish anyway.
The only real downside I would see to that is then you're either committing to the slow walk back out of the Zora area, or you have to go and do that splash deletion or kern jump again.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Moogle, currently down to 1 bomb, would have almost assuredly been forced into the situation of walking back out of the Zora area. Even being able to dash out of there is slow. Having to walk, ooh.
Yeah, and with Catfish having that another key to Palace of Darkness, it makes it's really pulling Moogle over there at this point.
Just because the rando is going to rando sometimes, it's reasonable to expect that you're going to find a pod small key and pod and key sanity just because there are so many of them. It doesn't have to happen, but it feels like it happens more often than it doesn't.
It's one of those rando things. You wouldn't expect it, but it probably happens a lot more often than you'd think. Ooh, a single green rupee. Moogle's just gonna skip that. What a bold play. Could have had 1,091 rupees, but opted to skip that one.
Going to have to give away 110 here to get into Palace of Darkness, so you never know, the 1 rupee could be the difference.
And we're going to see Jay do a perfect Moldorm fight without falling. No problems will happen, nothing will go wrong, and everything will go smooth.
I can tell you've never watched anyone play an MG.
Is it that obvious?
Just a little.
All right, Saha, what are you hiding in that basement for us?
Aside from the knowledge that Eastern Palace is the green pendant, small key to thieves, a second sword, and a bee in a bottle. Okay, that's not bad.
Okay. Kind of an unfortunate place for that sword, knowing that was it a Palace of Darkness on Bombo's tablet? Because it would have been nice to have just picked that up at the time.
Would have been convenient, but you're reasonably likely to be back in the area for Swamp Palace at some point eventually anyway.
So yeah, if you really, really need it, you can go pick it up. But there's a lot you can do with, at this point, what, 3 keys? Palace of Darkness? And there's a lot of checks. And since it's a pendant dungeon, it looks like, they're not going to be in a rush to complete it fully.
Yep, no real need on Moogle's side from rushing over to the boss here. Now, it's entirely possible that the boss has something, but given the current number of keys in the inventory, you think, well, that's a 6-key locked location anyway, let's just not concern ourselves with it so much.
All right, well, let's see if this dip into pod pays off. There's going to be a lot that they can do here. It seems like Jay might be making a similar pathway. Might be checking Catfish. Oh, looks like doing a splash delete as well.
Yep, 3 arrows into the tree, 2 bombs, that'll do it as well.
It's a nice demonstration that there's more than one way to splash delete.
The 3-arrow 2 bomb is probably the most common one you'll see. What Moogle did is a little, I won't say that it's lesser known, but lesser used. It requires a more specific item set.
Yeah, it's definitely the more stingy play, for sure. Not stingy, not being any negative connotations there. I think it's smart to conserve your resources. All right, and Jay's going to pick up a key to Palace of Darkness very shortly. And I suspect we'll see Jay over in Palace of Darkness pretty shortly here, too.
Seems like about the right time for our runners to go ahead and converge there.
That was a map to Misery Mire that Moogle just got. So, my goodness, this seed is like, hey, Misery Mire, but you still want that medallion, don't you? Yeah,
pretty much everything on the table for it now. The real question becomes, are you dipping into Pendant Eastern before you go?
Yeah, there's some options there. We might see some more diversions there. We'll see what Jay decides to do here. Moogle definitely going to be going deeper. Because you're here, you might as well get these checks out of the way.
And the Meyer big key to answer a question from chat is in Dark Cross, which it looks like Jaejo may be picking up right now.
Oh, maybe opting not to have done the dark rooms, but with the lamp, that's going to make that a much easier.
Until and unless you were turning in the big bomb for Pyramid Fairy, this was the time that you were going to be here and mirroring over to pick it up rather than having to walk back at some later date.
Yep, if not here, if not now, then likely never or very last location, so it's a good thing Jay hasn't forgotten about it. Oh, we got the map to Ganon's Tower. I wonder if it's a crystal or a pendant.
Totally valueless map. All right, thanks, game.
We appreciate that. All right, nothing too fancy in the Palace of Darkness, of course, except for the things that can get us into Mire here. And ducking the duck there. Deciding to go into Eastern, maybe last minute change of mind, unless there was a reason to call the bird that I don't know about.
No, I think that was just a last second change of plans.
We can say it was a new trick for manipulating RNG, so that we'll go with that.
I don't know, if it was for Cannonball RNG, I don't know that it's really helped.
Yeah, it didn't work very well.
Maybe next time.
All right, and on Moogle's side at least, demonstrating that the compass has at least some kind of utility. Well, I'm sure most people have memorized these dungeons pretty well. It's nice to have a little count checker for you in case you've forgotten something. And there's their big key to Thieves' Town.
Given that we already know 2 pendant locations, it becomes more and more likely that that's a required big key.
Yep, the odds are definitely pointing towards that. We still don't know what Misery Mire is.
I think we eventually found the map for that. I think Moogle's the one who has it, and I don't think Moogle has map checked with it. So sooner or later we'll find out, but as yet we do not know.
I suppose if you find out it's a pendant, then you go straight to Thieves' Town. But if not, if it's crystal, then it makes a lot of sense to go into Misery Mire at this point.
Moogle double checking there just says, I got that key, right? Yes, you did.
It can be easy to forget. It's in one of those rooms where it really becomes apparent that you don't have the boots. And there is Ether. Jay getting there, Ether. Yeah, it looks like Palace of Darkness was the go-to-mire dungeon this seed.
And then Eastern was the go to Thieves' Town dungeon. So we have options, and mooglecharm opting for the former there. Misery Mire are going to be on the table.
Yeah. No chance at a bird toss, not even giving us the option. Just killing the poor dinosaur before it even gets a chance to be frozen. The boots have got to show up here sooner or later.
And Jaejo, considering the save and quit there, then mirrors, I wonder if we're also going to get the Eastern play here. And that... You can say what you want about not continuing further in Palace of Darkness there. Given the lack of small keys, I believe he had done all of his logical checks and decided to go ahead and leave.
Yeah, and there wasn't anything particular. We got the big key to Thieves Town in Eastern, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's going to be a little bit unfortunate, depending on whether or not that's our last pendant. Because we're still looking for that last pendant, aren't we?
Indeed we are. And
so
at this
could
point,
be a potential time save for Jay.
We are down to Swamp Palace and Thieves Town for that final pendant location.
You kind of hope for a pendant Swamp Palace, but then again, there's a lot of checks there, so I've seen pendant Swamp be required before.
And we're still missing a decent chunk of items here. We're going to have to find the hammer and both rods. We're going to need the Desert Palace big key for sure. Yeah,
there's a lot still left. You'd usually by this point you're hoping you're 1 or 2 items away from go mode, but our runners are quite a ways away at this point. So might as well do some dungeons if you can and get them done.
both of the runners taking advantage of all of those small keys coming over to this fire-locked side first, and the fire-locked side was junk. It was just logical implications all the way down from those small keys.
It's unfortunate because of all the cutscenes to skip, this is one of the ones you want on your list, especially without Fire Rod. But no time lost for either runner because both decided to do it.
I believe that was a small key to Swamp Palace, or was it a dungeon item to Swamp Palace? I think small key.
Yep. That's what it looked like to me, at least.
Okay, so Hammer and Flipper's outstanding. At least provided we need to go in there, and it's starting to look like we might.
Oh, there's a Dark Palace. A small key. Hey, go to Dark Palace to then go to Mire and then go back to Dark Palace. I'm like, I see what you're doing, Seed, but I'm not going to play your game.
mooglecharm is particularly not going to play the Seeds game, having already cleared out most of the high-value, high-key count locations there. That does have a couple of 6-key locked locations left, but unlikely to be diving back over there anytime soon.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty desperate for checks at that point and still missing some things. And there's our Fire Rod. That's where it's been hiding. So Skullwood's now completable. And with that Thieves Town big, still without the hammer though, and it's still potentially a pendant. So not sure we're gonna see the rest of Thieves Town just yet.
Certainly likely to go ahead and make the play to Crystal Skull Woods first, although I think Moogle still may not know that Tower of Hera was the other 5/6 crystal, but being able to put both halves of that together, you get a couple of additional checks available.
Oh, that's true, yeah. So Jay, opting not to go to Eastern Palace, has gotten pretty close to catching up with where Moogle is.
And if Thieves Town winds up being the last pendant, that could really work out for him. If it does not, if the last pendant
That's
is
gonna
in
be a
fact
problem.
Swamp Palace, then he has a problem.
Yep, so it remains to be seen as to whether skipping Eastern was a good or unfortunate play. I won't even say bad. Good or unfortunate play.
And the time spent going to Zora is going to come a little off of Jaejo's side of the ledger here. Those silver arrows are going to make Vitreous a much faster fight than the Master Sword and then regular arrows version that mooglecharm just showed us.
Yeah, and if this comes down to a really close match, which we often see, where both runners are reaching Ganon at relatively the same time, having those silvers are going to be a big boon. So Jay maybe on maybe like a checks perspective is a little bit behind, but I could be wrong about that too, though.
I think it's more that he's done some different ones, having gone up there, and he has the sight check on the Zora ledge, has the Zora check done. Those are not terribly quick checks. You can speed them up a little bit with the boots if you happen to find the boots, but until such time...
Yep, and all it takes is for mooglecharm to go, I'm still missing hammer, I'm still missing the flippers, I'm still missing... Maybe I need to go check Zora. And where Moogle will get his bow, and things might start to look a little more even. But as long as he delays Zora and doesn't go there, then that's a possible big time save, depending on how much time is saved from having silvers.
Since we're at least a few seconds away from the next new check, and since we are now an hour into this thing, surprisingly enough, this is a good time to go ahead and remind everybody out there in Chatland, if you've been enjoying the show that these runners have been putting on for you on this Friday evening, go ahead and give them a follow. Jaejo36 and mooglecharm, both not only top-notch runners, also big in the MSU creation side of the game.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know that. Okay, there's our map to Swamp Palace. We can at least figure out whether it's a crystal or pendant.
That is the map that's going to give us full information.
Yes, well, I mean, it's not a completely... Yeah, okay. Well, I can't imagine they were thrilled to get it. They weren't unhappy to get it, though.
There are worse things you could find there. I'm not sure that we've seen the map to Hyrule Castle yet. That would be a worse thing to find there.
Yes, that's very true. Although I'm sure they were hoping for boots or hammer or flippers, something.
Yeah, ice rod would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with the longer this goes on, the more it might become an ice rod hunt.
The moth is not really cooperating, but somewhere along the line, mooglecharm wound up on 17 hearts, so yes. I think he's in okay shape.
I'm trying to remember where all that life came from, because there's a big discrepancy between the two runners at this point.
I want to say there were 2 or 3 full heart containers in the back of Pod. I think that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah, and if there was any in Eastern, that's going to help as well. Moogle might end up with 20 hearts by the end of this. Alright, so where does Moogle go from here? A ped check. That makes sense if you're going to do that. You don't have that knowledge yet. We know it's Couch Cash. Don't mean to spoil anybody that just showed up to watch the race, but ped is dead.
Okay, so your mooglecharm, you have this big key to Thieves Town. Is Thieves Town your play?
It's a strong possibility. Although, what is it? It's either Swamp Palace or Thieves Town at this point is our last pendant. I'm trying to look at both sides of the trackers here.
And we are, unfortunately, fairly locked out of Swamp with that lack of flippers. So it looks like Moogle's just going to say, I found this big key, and I'm going to go use it.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe flippers are on blind. But we really need those flippers. Swamp Palace is one of those things where anytime you think you have everything you need to go in there, you double check. You might be missing something. I've seen a number of runners go, oh, wait, can't do that yet. Oh, don't have the key, can't do that yet. Gotta have the mirror, gotta have the flippers, gotta have so much.
And Jaejo is going to make the play to Eastern Palace here. I was wondering if we were going to get a sequence break into ice, but apparently not.
Yeah, sequence break into ice. You know, I don't hate that play, actually, considering we know it's a crystal. And if there's a strong possibility that Swamp Palace is our other pendant, then you could just say, well, I don't need the flippers then. And just
it's starting to feel like that terrible situation where the hammer is just in one of those locations that you hope it's not, like Ice Palace.
Yeah.
But it could also just be in the back of Thieves Town here. That small key says that it could be anywhere. That was the one with some logical implications, even though you don't have the hammer. And there it is in the attic. Okay.
Quick, say money's falling from the sky. Quick.
It was a whole 5 rupees, but yeah, money was falling from the sky there too.
Yep, that was the commentary blessing right there. You saw it live, everyone.
Lowering at least by 1 the number of things that our runners still need, but we do have an outstanding big key for Desert Palace no matter what, and the Ice Rod. Maybe the flippers. One of these first times in the Dark World, one of these runners is going to pull a map check and tell us what Swamp Palace is, or Moogle will finally defeat the boss here and we'll see what falls from the sky. Either way, we'll eventually get the information we need.
I need it. I need his info. Check your maps, runners, please. I'm begging you. It's a good job that Jay went back to Eastern to pick up that big key for Thieves. Although, yeah, because he's gonna need to get that hammer.
Now, did Moogle bail before that Desert Palace big key? Because that was in the big chest of Eastern. And I feel like he didn't. I thought I saw him go into the Vanilla Big Key location in Eastern Palace. But I've been watching a lot of Rando today, and that could have been from some other game.
I'm sorry, I had to pick my jaw up from my mouth because I thought we didn't have that. So yeah, maybe...
Oh, chat's catching me here. The big key for Eastern was not in the inventory when Moogle did Eastern.
Yeah. So the Eastern Palace big key was on Moth.
Suddenly it all comes through the haze very clearly. Well, that is a big key that was one of the few remaining things we knew we needed, and now Jaejo has it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what.
And now we know we're going to have to find flippers because that pendant falls from the sky after the defeated blind. And, well, here we go. Swamp Palace, Crystal Dungeon.
Not a huge time loss considering the hammer and all that, but we need those flippers now. And they logically can't be an ice palace. But with hammer, we can check here. Maybe they're in hammer pegs.
And I see Homemade Beer there in chat informing me that mooglecharm is in fact one of my brethren and always punished. If there's a way that the seed can make your life a little more miserable, it will find that way. The items will be laid out in that way.
It's just a shield. Okay. We don't need that. We've got 17 hearts. A very, very quick fight with those silvers.
And a bit of a disgusting small key to Tower of Hera. There's not a whole lot left up there unless you're on your way to Turtle Rock.
So what are the odds that Sahasrahla has something? Because we just got the green pendant. Maybe flippers on Saha? And this whole thing gets flipped around?
I'd say that the location of that Desert Palace Big Key was already a large turning point. The green pendant, only 20 rupees.
Only 20. Yep, so I guess we'll get to see what the rest of Desert Palace has, which is just Landmolus at this point, I believe.
And Jaejo, not going to take a chance on the unknown in Thieves Town, is going to go ahead and give us Desert Palace first, having that big key now.
Yep, still needs to go in there to get the hammer. But we are going to get Pyramid Fairy here in just a few moments. And what's in this big chest? Definitely flippers. I can feel it. Nope.
Finding a lot of nothing in both locations.
All right, Landmolus. Maybe you have flippers for us.
It does appear that mooglecharm is up to 4 Turtle Rock small keys, and I think we are going to see the Turtle Rock play here.
At this point, that's your densest location that I can think of. In logic, of course. And maybe you find Ice Rod in there.
I'm mildly surprised in that case that there was not a sequence break into Ice Palace first, and the reasoning would be maybe you find the Ice Rod in Ice Palace and then you get to single dip Turtle Rock.
Yeah, exactly.
You know you're not going to find the flippers there, but there is another item outstanding that you're looking for that would make a dungeon that you really think that you're going to do in the near future a little more bearable.
Yeah, and that might have been the play. We'll see if Turtle Rock has the flippers and or the Ice Rod. Now, if Turtle Rock has the Ice Rod, then no harm, no foul. But it'll be interesting if Ice Palace has the Ice Rod. Be an appropriate place for it, at least.
Jaejo gave some thought to using silvers on those Landmolas, and it didn't go so well, so instead he broke out the Fire Rod and fried some worms.
Fire Rod is much easier to hit your target with a Fire Rod. Okay, so it's looking like what we need is in Turtle Rock here, which makes your mention earlier of, surprised that Moogle didn't actually go into Turtle Rock considering everything that he had at the time. And if it turns out that something really useful is here, that would have been an excellent time to do it while he was up there doing Hera.
Well, at the worst, he is here now, so we are going to find out what's here. A bottle percent and 20 rupees is not really the kind of game-changing item you're hoping to find.
We're definitely going deeper. Getting rid of those bees. Making good use of that. We still haven't seen Spike Cave, I don't believe. Because we just picked up Hammer. Well, Moogle did, of course. So, depending on what's on Turtle Rock, we might see a Spike Cave if things get desperate.
And Jaejo is going to use that Tower of Hera small key that he found and do Hera Basement. Missed the invincibility frames from those pegs, but says, well, I have this cape. Here's another way to use it.
Yep, not going to skip out on the coffee break. Going to use the cape to get that coffee break.
It's a little less convenient in that you have to hold the A button, but other than that, it works out okay.
Yep. Holding the A button there, does that prevent the magic from going down?
As long as you're holding onto the wall or some other object, yes it does.
Well, look at that. I knew that already. I was just asking for the fine folks at home. I didn't know that. I learned something today. Okay. More money on the lava bridge. Could have skipped that. But at this point, we're so desperate for items. You're not going to want to skip things, especially if you have the keys.
Where are we going here, Jaejo? I'm really not sure what this play is.
Maybe just Aghanim for the heck of it? Well, there is one chest in here. Right?
No, in this version of Tournament Keys, the Aga Tower Smalls are in their vanilla locations.
Oh. So that's going to be an Aga Tower Small then. Yep.
Yes.
So maybe just forgot that. Or, but there wasn't anything on the Lumberjack Cave, right?
No, I think chat may have the right of this one. This is Jaejo, for whatever reason, attempting to avoid Thieves Town and doing Aga for the ability to turn in the big bomb. And there are the flippers in Mimic Cave.
There we go. That's what we wanted to see. Man, those flippers were tucked away.
Decidedly buried, those flippers.
Yeah. And we're going to see the rest of Turtle Rock sans the Trinex, of course, unless Ice Rod's on Laser Bridge.
Could be on Laser Bridge, could be in Crystal Roller here.
Yep. Still one more before Laser Bridge here. And it is more heart. Lots of life. I don't foresee our runners dying unintentionally with all this life.
Jaejo using the silver arrows pretty liberally here in the tower and not even opting for the NMG arrow pot at the top right-hand corner of that circle of pots.
So, doing this will allow him to check what again? Is it going to allow him to check the bomb?
Yeah, this is going to allow Jaejo to check Pyramid Fairy without having a hammer.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, the answer was to definitely go into Thieves Town, unfortunately. There's a map to Thieves Town. Making good use of that cane of shenanigans. It never ceases to amaze me. There's always some new way I see a runner use it.
Does not do so much in the light world, but cracks the dark world right in half.
Yeah, it's there's so many skips and tricks and shenanigans you can do with it.
But the Ice Rod was not on Laser Bridge. Now, with those flippers finally in the inventory, mooglecharm very likely to make plays into Swamp Palace, Ice Palace. Just kind of depends on where you want to go.
Now, if Ice Rod is in Ice Palace, then that sequence break would have been really nice. But then again, if it's in Swamp Palace, then that's a required double dip into Turtle Rock at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you are not sequence breaking around the flippers on your way into Swamp. That is for sure.
It'd be nice if you could, but not even the Cane of Samaria can let you do that one.
Now, there probably are ways, but they are not legal in this tournament. I believe they involve some major glitches.
Oh, that's right. I mean, to be honest, I don't think there's anything you can't figure out how to do in this game. I have seen reverse boss order, all kinds of fun, goofy stuff. So, but yeah, we're not going to allow. If we did allow major glitches, then this would just be a 2-second seed. People would figure out how to clip out of bounds and go get the Triforce, and that wouldn't be fun to watch.
No, that is a pretty boring way to play the game, in my personal estimation.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. Fascinating the first time. Go, oh, wow, I didn't know you could do that. And then I don't like to see races. I want to see some racing, you know? Those boots still evading us, unfortunately.
It is a very long, slow walk to get where Jaejo is trying to go here with that Dark World access. You're starting all the way around the world from where you're trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made that it might have just been faster to do Thieves Town, even if it is a pendant.
Just make the attempt. It's 3 items that you know you can get at versus I'm going to go pick up a couple of small keys and spend 5 minutes and then another 1.5 minutes looping all the way around the Dark World so that I can turn this bomb in. That's a tough spot to be in, but if you believe that strongly that the big orange bomb has your answer, well, that's a way to do it.
Unfortunately, we both are psychics and we know that there's nothing in there. At least nothing, not that I can remember. Compass to Swamp Palace in the big chest of Swamp Palace. That's a little bit disappointing. At least I think that's what I saw.
That is what you saw.
Oh.
And Moogle, knowing that he's still the Ice Rod, the Desert Palace big key, away from anything that even approximates go mode, plus or minus needing boots to get a big key off of the torch in GT, is going to go ahead and opt for left side swamp here.
Yeah, that makes sense. To get this done, you might as well. You're here, and you're not in a position to be skipping things. It looks like Jay's going to be checking the rest of Palace Darkness. I'd imagine, having fully completed Eastern at this point.
Has gained another key since then. I'm mildly surprised that there was not a pickup of the additional key that we know is sitting on Bombo's tablet, just to make life a little easier here.
That may be knowledge that Jay doesn't have. I know Moogle checked it, but it's possible that Jay checked it as well. I can't remember, though. But yeah, you'd think you'd just go pick that up if you're going to come here.
Well, one way or another, 6 key locked locations. Here we go. Let's see what we get.
That wasn't worth it. I didn't see what was on the left side swamp. I was distracted by Jay here, but I'm looking. I still see no ice rod. And we know the Desert Palace... Where was the Desert Palace big key? Was that in Eastern?
That was in the Eastern Palace big chest.
Okay. Which, unfortunately, mooglecharm was not able to pick up. And that is definitely one of his go mode items. Well, there's half magic.
Kind of a nice consolation prize, but doesn't really change a whole lot.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice to have. Just makes you a little more liberal with your fire rod shots and all that, but we need the ice rod. There's a possibility we don't need boots, but it would be nice to have them. It's beginning to look like Ice Rod might actually be an ice palace.
We are closing in on that kind of situation, aren't we?
I'm gonna have to tip my hat to you for calling that.
Well, you see, I would have had the big punish because I would have been in there without the hammer, and then it would have been behind the hammer in there, and I would never be going back because I would have already cleared half the dungeon. Again, always punished.
Always punished, yeah.
That's how this works.
I guess we'll have to wait and see if it is behind it. I'm gonna die of laughter if that ends up being the case.
Mooglecharm picking up another crystal here. The crystal out of Swamp Palace giving him 4, count them, 4 crystals.
In a good spot. Still need the Ice Rod, and I suspect we're going to be seeing Ice Palace. But that big key to Desert Palace might be a last location thing. We might see him even go to the Zora's area before finishing up Eastern.
It does seem fairly likely that unless the Ice Rod, even if the Ice Rod does come out here, having cleared the entirety of Turtle Rock but for the boss, that Moogle would be more inclined to go ahead and do the flipper checks while he's in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, that small key. Oh, to Ice Palace. Well, how very convenient.
Who knew doormats could be interdimensional?
That was probably about the most convenient Ice Palace key location you could have hoped for. And Jay finally giving up and saying, okay, I'll do Thieves Town.
The one thing that I really did not want to do, but I was going to be forced into it.
Yep. Jay, to Jay's credit, tried very hard to not have to do Thieves Town.
Committed to an entire Aga play in point of fact in attempting to avoid it.
Yep. I mean, it's not my favorite dungeon either, but sure.
That first check in Ice Palace, just 10 arrows for Mooglecharm, not what he's looking for.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do better than that, Ice Palace.
There is Jaejo's hammer. I believe he has not map checked since picking up that... Or was the swamp map in here? I feel like the swamp map may have been in here.
That's actually possible. I can't remember, though. All right, where are you, Ice Rod?
Those are blue things, but the functionality thereof is rather different.
That's not going to help us beat Trinex, that's for sure. More blue things that you'd think would help you beat Trinex, but no. Trinex is not weak to bombs, unfortunately.
It would be kind of funny if you could somehow drag the big orange bomb up there and blow the Trinex shell off that way.
That'd be some strong commitment.
Down to 3 items remaining in ice, and one of them we cannot get at without the big key,
Yep.
so just 2
big
checks
key.
remaining that Moogle can show us.
What worst case scenario? Big key for this Can the big key for this dungeon logically be on Cold Stare?
That's an excellent question that I don't have an answer to.
Well,
I would assume not,
yeah.
given that there's a big key door right there.
Yeah, It's very unlikely, considering it would probably expect you to have to go through the dungeon like you normally would. But then again, I don't know. Sometimes the logic will take a few liberties. You know, like for instance, in Hookshot Cave, that first check, if you have the boots, puts that in logic. So there's little things here and there that, you know, hey, since you got Cane of Samaria, we might logically be able to put Big Key on Cold Stare. But that's that's conjecture. I don't know. We'll see what's on Cold Stare here in a second. That was a very quick Cold Stare, by the way. Oh, it's Shovel. Okay. Hello, Shovel. Shovel. Okay, this is my prediction. Shovel into Big Key for Ice Palace, and then Big Chest has Ice Rod.
Now, if you're Moogle Charm, do you go ahead and mirror here and do the rest of the flipper checks, or are you saying the shovel is really the only thing I found here? Let's go look. And it looks like flipper checks are the order of the day.
So at least in terms of silvers, Moogle Charm will be even there as well. Well, Jay is gonna fake flipper into Ice Palace, it looks like, because the flippers were in Mimic Cave. But this could have possibly been a big time save, though it remains to be seen. Maybe Jay decides to go do that shovel before going into Turtle Rock, even though we still don't know what's on the shovel. Shovel into Mushroom is still a possibility.
It does seem like he's attempting to put off that additional mountain play, so I would not be at all surprised to see Jaejo check the shovel before committing to a Turtle Rock dip.
Yeah, and a single dip through Turtle Rock will definitely be a good time save for Jay.
And if he can wind up in Flipper's Go mode, then he is in that position where he gets to Go mode Swamp Palace and save some of the time that Moogle Charm spent full clearing that dungeon.
Yeah, and I don't think left side yielded anything we needed. But yeah, if your Go mode item is Flippers, then that's it. You do Swamp. You're done.
You can have your Ice Rod. It is logically Flippers locked.
Oh no, if only. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that's where the Ice Rod was. This whole time I was like, oh, there's nothing up there for Moogle that he needs. But I forgot, yeah, we had to skip Waterfall because when Jay fake flippered, Jay didn't have the Moon Pearl, so he couldn't have checked that.
And did you notice the other item that was in there? That Ice Palace Big Key.
Oh, no.
You have to think that at least Moogle Charm is thinking, well, that's not what I wanted to see right now.
Man, I wish Jay would have gotten that Moon Pearl before fake flippering now. Oh, that's unfortunate.
It would be interesting to see if he chooses to fake flipper for that before going up the mountain. It's not entirely impossible. You just mirror after Ice Palace, flute to 8, and set up the fake flipper the same way you did the first time to come to Ice Palace.
It's definitely a reasonable play at this point. Because you want to just go through Turtle Rock. You don't want to have to double dip if you can avoid it. I mean, that's true of all dungeons, but I feel like Turtle Rock specifically.
And the boots are on the shovel.
Okay, Seed. You know what? I have words with you. That is okay. So Moogle Charm now has boots. I'm not sure when Jay's going to be picking up his boots, but he is going to be getting the shovel pretty soon. Now, the difference here is I believe Moogle is still on the hunt for that big key to Desert Palace. Doesn't know it's in Eastern. But apart from that, are we in no mode at this point?
Yes, we know where everything is. Jaejo needs those flippers for Mimic Cave and the Ice Rod from the Waterfall Fairy, and maybe those boots from the shovel. Kind of tough to say. A 1 in 22 chance. while Mooglecharm has to go back to Eastern Palace.
Yeah. So, Jay will be in a better position depending on how long it takes Mooglecharm to go, okay, fine, I'll go back to Eastern. But that might be a last location. Cold Stare. Another one of those bosses that always goes according to plan and never gives the runners any problems.
So our runners are once again even on the crystal count at 5, although they are a different 5.
And Mooglecharm looks like gonna check Spike Cave maybe, and then finish up Turtle Rock, and then from there he still needs to do Desert Palace. But that's not. Desert Palace doesn't take too long. You just need that big key for it. And yes, Jay gonna pick up his boots very shortly.
The boots are nice. It's the ice rod that's a little more out of the way for him.
Yeah. And without those flippers, Jay is not going to be in a rush to go check those if there's other things he can check. Though, you know, what you said earlier, it's a reasonable play to go, well, you know what, I'll just check those real quick before going up to mountain. And especially with the flute, you can just fly there. Forgetting, I don't have the flippers.
The lack of flippers coming into play right there. I wanted to use that whirlpool system and make a couple of quick bonk checks instead having to save and quit Sanctuary.
I was really hoping we're going to see some kind of check there for the fairy, but he would have fluted somewhere else if he was going to do that. We are going to see Bonk Rocks, which is our single arrow. There it is. All right, Mooglecharm's going to finish up Turtle Rock, which is at this point just Trinex, if I'm not mistaken. And then hope that the Desert Palace Big Key is on there, but we know that's not the case.
Just Trinex and the 3+ minute slog to get there, even though you've already cleared out the entirety of the rest of the dungeon. This dungeon is long and slow, and double dipping it feels terrible.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a little bit nicer now that he has the boots, but I agree with you. It's such a slog to be like, I did this already, and if I just would have put it off. I mean, the seed logically wanted you to come here first to get the flippers. But seeing as how you could have fake flippered to easily get the ice rod, that's unfortunate. That because this could have been avoided for sure.
Jaejo also giving us Spike Cave. Mooglecharm now roughly halfway through, a little further.
Yeah, it really is. With no checks, with no suspense on what could be in those chests. It's okay. All right, Turtle Rock. I'm almost through. Just a little bit more. And it looks like Jay is going to be picking up his flippers pretty shortly here. Gonna go into Turtle Rock. And unfortunately isn't gonna be able to one-shot it. That would have been a really good time save for Jay at this point.
That was a time save that it's really starting to look like Jaejo was going to need. Mooglecharm being well ahead in this dungeon, having already gone through once, is going to gain the crystal lead here in the next 30 to 45 seconds.
Yep, that's what it's looking like. And the only saving grace for Jay at this point is how long it takes mooglecharm to go back into Eastern and get that Desert Palace big key, but it's starting to get to a point where there's not a lot of options left for him at all. Like, maybe he gambles on the big chest, but I mean, Eastern is much easier to do. Big chest and Ice Palace, I should finish my thought there.
Yeah, Eastern being the green pendant, you have 2 items within the dungeon, and then you have the green pendant turn in versus 1 in ice. I can't really see him doing that. And I think he's picked off most, if not all, of his remaining one-off overworld locations. So the only other things that would be possible would be something like picking up that additional pod small and making sure you pick up all of the 6 key locked locations in Palace of Darkness when you're over there. But again, that's going to leave you right on top of Eastern, which means that would be what you do next.
Yep, that's what you do next. Yeah, for sure. And you're right. It seems like because of how thorough Moogle's been going through these overworld checks, there just really isn't anything left. And I would be surprised if the delay to Eastern. And yep, and here it is. We are going to see Pod first, it looks like.
At the very least, going to carry the access there, knows that there are a couple of checks that he can make in a worst-case scenario. I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see him do Eastern first, though.
Yeah, and if he does Eastern first, that's definitely good for him, and then he's in, let's get to Ganon. He's got to get to finish the Desert Palace, but that doesn't take very long at all, especially with Mirror.
Oh, and I was wrong. He is going to go ahead and use that 1 small key first.
Depending on how quickly here. So the unfortunate thing is, if Jay had been able to get that ice rod, he would have been able to finish Turtle Rock here in one go, and then it's down to he's got to finish Swamp Palace, but he's in go mode Swamp Palace, and mooglecharm needs to finish Desert Palace still.
Yeah, go mode Swamp is still going to take longer than go mode Desert, particularly when you have the Mitts, Loot, and Mirror, so that you can just go in the back door immediately.
But it's starting to look, especially as Moogle heads into Eastern, it's starting to look very much like Moogle's race to lose at this point.
It did have its twists and turns. Jaejo had a lot of outs, and it could still come down to unfortunate things happening to Moogle within the confines of Ganon's Tower, but it is pretty safe to say at the moment that mooglecharm is in the lead. As he picks up his go mode big key to Desert Palace.
And just mirror out. No sense in finishing this dungeon. You've got everything you need. All right. Moogle gonna go finish that. Can't imagine. He feels like he's in the lead. I can't imagine that.
No, you went, you dipped Eastern Palace earlier, you got the big key afterwards, you didn't really want to have to go back there, you made it a bit of a last location, you're thinking, well, with the location of that Eastern Palace big key, maybe my opponent got this Desert Palace big key on the first dive, and you're right. The difference is, as in most cases when you're a runner in the midst of a seed worrying about what your opponent may or may not have done, your opponent has made mistakes of their own.
That's just the way it goes sometimes. And flippers, there you are.
Jaejo now 1 item from go mode, the ice rod just having eluded him a little bit based on his early game routing, not having had that moon pearl when he did fake flippers in the very early days.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where the fake flippers would have been a really big find. And while the no go mode item is in the big chest for Ice Palace, even having that key making Ice Palace a little smoother of a run, not having that in the back of your mind, that would have been really nice early on, for sure.
It really is one of those peace of mind big keys, kind of like the one to Skull Woods that the runners did get, not required to beat the dungeon as such, that you really don't want to have that one-off item location just hanging out there. When am I going to ever get back to this? The Skullwoods one is maybe not quite as bad as Ice, since you can flute to 3, and if you've got mitts, you can just walk right in the front door, and it's pretty easy to get to. But still, not something that you ever want to have to worry about.
Yeah, if you can just get it done and out of the way, all the better for sure.
Mooglecharm takes the 7th crystal from Lanmullas and is headed up to Ganon's Tower. This is the part where, if you are so inclined, you can guess some number between 1 and 22 whole integers of where you think that GT Big Key may be hiding today.
Trying to imagine what a check 4.5 would look like. All right. Ooh, I'm seeing a lava torch 1, or not lava torch, a torch 1. That's a very bold first. It's not just the first check. It's going to be the first check, and it's going to be on the torch. I always say 4. That's my go-to.
Yeah, I've kind of reached a point in my rando playing that I don't have a go-to number. I've seen pretty much all of the locations pretty much evenly.
And luckily, in Key Sanity, I did notice that I'm pretty sure Moogle picked up the compass for Ganon's Tower. We'll have an easy time keeping track, because the compass will help. But that's really more of a me thing. You're pretty good at keeping track.
As long as you know what the route is, it's reasonably easy to count them up pretty quickly. Jaejo going to make the play into Swamp here before checking Waterfall makes all the sense in the world. It's a crystal dungeon. He does have to complete it to win the game.
All right, torch is out. That's 1.
Going into the Stalco's room, also called DM room. Got some more bombs and the big key too. Palace of Darkness.
Okay. Your heart flutters a little bit when you see that big key pop up, but Key Sanity being Key Sanity.
Yep, you have to wait for the text box. And I do believe that was our last outstanding big key aside from the GT Big, so the next time we see one, we can actually get excited.
Yes, you can safely get excited, I know. I know that you've all been burned, so you might not be wanting to get your hopes up, but it's okay. You can be excited. How deep into Ganon's Tower are we going to have to go? Are we going to see the rest of the left side? Yep, looks like it.
At the very least, we've gone through the first half of the checks without finding what we're looking for. Moogle deciding that the full right play is a little too memey maybe for a big tournament race, and says, no, you know what, I'm just going to go left again.
That makes sense.
I love putting on a show. I don't need a whole lot of excuse to go ahead and make the full right meme play.
Yeah.
But
I can tell.
that may be one of the reasons that I'm out of this tournament already, and mooglecharm is not.
Maybe, possibly. But, you know, chat appreciates a good show. Okay? We like our full right. We like our bird toss. It's fun to watch.
Our tile room gambles, our blind bed polls.
Pick your poison. We love it all.
Well, we're 13 checks in, and we still have not found a big key. Going to go ahead and make the refill room check here.
AKA Rando Room. AKA one of my favorite rooms. And looky there. Big key
Check
in Rando
number
Room.
17.
Congratulations to everybody who said 17. You are now the proud owner of maybe a little bit of pride for having guessed right.
Which in fine rando fashion will last just until the next time that you are wrong about the guess.
Yep, you're going to have to hand that big key virtual trophy over to the next winner. Yeah, I should get a trophy made of a big key. And then for the time that I got it right that one time. And then when my grandchildren ask, Grandpa, what's that? I can tell them all about how I got the big key to Ganon's Tower guess right. And then they'll put me in an old folks home.
Yep, Moogle going to go ahead and employ Fire Rod with this half magic, just going to make the gauntlet burn a little bit.
Yeah, the half magic makes a lot of these rooms all the easier.
It particularly helps when the Stalkos and the Zazaks and so forth are in the high value pool and you can get a magic refill somewhere in the midst of it.
Always convenient when that works out that way.
Cleanly handled, 3 silver arrows for 3 worms, and now they're all gone.
That was, yeah, very well done there. More proof that the Cane of Samaria is very valuable. Missing the 2 here, but I'll be able to clean it up.
Yeah, the first block placed just a little low. And Jaejo in Swamp Palace, he was in there only 1 from go, said, I'm going straight to the back. Hopefully the ice rod's on my critical path. I'm going to get it while I'm heading for the boss anyway. Not to be today.
It's too bad Jay can't read minds, because he'd know to go check the waterfall ferry at this point. Those spikes ruining Moogle's run there.
In a bit of a situation health-wise, but then you have the Bunny Beam and the Anti-Fairy Powder going to go ahead and refill just about everything.
Really convenient spot for that.
Jaejo joining the 18 Hearts Club.
It's a very healthy seed. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't make it to 20, but I guess I can let it slide.
Speaking of coming down to last locations, it looks like Jaejo knows exactly where he needs to look.
Yep, probably really upset considering that he had fake flippered over here but didn't have Moon Pearl. Probably looking back at that going, I probably should have waited until I got Moon Pearl to come over here.
This is the one place I did not want this item to be.
Yep. The waterfall cave, it only had to just not have any go mode items. That's all it needed. But not today. Not for this seed.
Just needed to be funneled over there a little sooner, and not meant to be.
Well, Moogle making his way to Ganon with a very healthy lead. It's possible that Moogle will be able to complete this before Jay makes it to Ganon's tower.
That's entirely possible. The Ganon fight, particularly with silver arrows, should not take you really north of a couple of minutes, and the slog to Trinex through Turtle Rock is going to be at least 3 point something.
So barring a handful of Ganon falls, I think this is Moogle's race here.
Ganon Falls not unknown, but we do see Moogle employing the cape here. Probably going to be pretty liberal with those safeties, the potions, the cape,
absolutely.
everything, and then the silver arrow is just going to take care of phase 4 like it's nothing. Usually when you start talking about Ganon Falls, you're talking about things like trying to do 24 Master Sword spins on the pig, and then you maybe get a little greedy, or you get clipped by a fire bat, and you put yourself in the pit, and you have to start over. Once you start talking about Tempered Sword silvers for phase 4,
very unlikely.
Nothing is truly free in this game, but that's closer to it than most.
Yeah.
As we see 2 silver sticks into the pig, the relight of both torches, and 2 more.
And down he goes. GG's to mooglecharm. Unless Moogle wants to fall off of the bridge here, the staircase, then I can't imagine Jay has any hope of winning. All right.
That is mooglecharm finished in the race room with a 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 27 seconds time.
Masterfully done.
And we are joined in the booth by the victor this evening, evening this best of 3 up at 1 game apiece. mooglecharm, good game to you.
Thank you. GG's.
How are you feeling about Ice Rod?
I was really salty. Well, because I was like, I bet the flippers are in TR, but there were so many, like there were still a few things I was missing. So I was like, if TR happens to have like the desert big, or maybe the ice rod's just there, then I'm in pretty good shape. So I considered the sequence break to Ice Palace, and then I probably would have just like done the waterfall stuff right after. So when I got that ice rod, I was really mad, and it was with the big key for ice too, which felt even worse.
Yeah, a bit of a sting there.
Yeah, that actually hurt more, I feel like, than the ice rod.
I was also going to ask you about how you felt about the desert big key location.
Yeah, that didn't feel good either, because I got the Eastern big not that long after I was in Eastern. I was actually considering not dipping for the first time, because I had Mire access. I'm like, well, I can get back to Eastern fairly easily, and I knew it was a pendant, so I was like, oh, I should do this while I'm here. So I was like happy when I got that Thieves big, but then like in the end, it ended up costing me the desert big, because like I just wasn't gonna go back there for a very long time. Yeah, the longer that I went without that key, I was like, I'm probably gonna lose, I feel like. Yeah, especially after that ice big. Kept thinking, oh, it's gonna be there, isn't it? But yeah, that was like what I had. Besides that, I had Armos and ice big, I think, left.
Yeah, it came down to it. There was not a lot of options left for you once you found the Desert Palace. But, you know, Jay had a different routing, but it was a similar situation where, you know, you just last location something, and it just happens to be the thing that you need.
Yeah. What was he missing?
Well, Ice Rod, I think it was Flippers. It came down to Flippers and Ice Rod. But the difference was Jay actually had desert big key. Like he finished Eastern all in one go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what had happened was you went in and got your mitts and the pearl and the flute from the beginning of the Hyrule Castle segment substantially earlier than Jaejo did. Jaejo had gone to South Shore first, and so did some fake flipperage, got his first bow off of Zora, but had no moon pearl at the time, so Waterfall Fairy was kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I felt really good dipping escape and coming out with all that stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised at the haul that was lurking behind escape there.
Yeah, it really helps with trying to think about the routing after that. Having mitts access along with that moon pearl, it was like, okay, well, I could basically clear the mountain and just start to get some information now, with knowing the TR medallion. I can do like a save and quit at Mire, so like getting the old man and doing the Mire shed, getting that information, like it started to feel nice to like think ahead, because like I had so much to do that I knew Jaejo would end up doing anyway, so it was like I can kind of think about those routing choices, so that was nice.
Yeah, if you had fake flippered, and if Jay would have actually waited until getting Moon Pearl to fake flipper, this could have ended up being like a completely different seed.
Yeah, potentially. It never felt like there was a really good time to fake flipper until that TR play. If I had the ice big, I definitely would have done it at that point. The ability to full clear it with Kane is fairly easy. So if I had the big key, I would have done it.
Yeah, and it's really tough to say, hey, I just pulled my mitts and my moon pearl out of the front of escape. What I want to do right now is let's go sequence breaks and flipper checks. Yeah. That sounds like a brilliant play.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's I think when you get early, like super early mitts, Dark World access, I think it still is definitely beneficial to continue to clear like South Shore. Listen, like a lot of the easy overworld stuff. Especially in this type of mode where you need to find all the keys and stuff too. But yeah, doing a sequence break at that point, just, unless like the seed was giving me all the Ice Palace stuff with my Cane, minus the flippers early, like maybe I route that in earlier, but without the big key and without the flippers, there's just, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea until you start to run out of things to do.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that the game was handing you, how did you like getting literally every dungeon item, including all 3 small keys for Misery Mire, and then the Firelock side had Bupkis?
It was 2 heart pieces, I think, if I remember, or maybe bombs. Yeah, it was. I got all those keys and was like, okay, well, I am going to go over there. That's why, like, when I left Pod, in my mind, I'm like, I'm just going to go straight to Mire and come back to Eastern later. I think if I had boots, like, that, I might end up doing that. But the walk back to Eastern just doesn't feel right. So I ended up doing it because I was standing there. But yeah, I was dead set on, okay, there's something in Mire. What is it going to be? And it turns out the Fire Rod was in the location that didn't even need any keys. So yeah.
It's very true. Yeah, and early on you had the seed gave you tons for Misery Mire, but then and 2 medallions, but the 1 medallion you needed to actually get in there was Ether, and you were missing that at the time as well.
Yeah, there was. I don't know. It didn't feel bad. It started to feel like an Agus seed at one point. So, when I went over to Pod Eastern, I actually didn't have anything left. So it felt nice that because I was considering doing Graveyard Ledge, like with all that kind of magic bat, Smith chain stuff. Like I was trying to figure out the best way to get that in. So doing Graveyard Ledge into the fake flipper to the pod area was like, this definitely is an Agaseed, it seemed like. And then when I got that big key that led to that hammer, I was like, oh my god, I could have had this hammer so long ago.
Yeah,
And,
it was
yeah,
an
mentally it
unfortunate
didn't feel
hammer
good.
location.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice to kind of put it all in logic because I had the small key and I'm thinking, like, when I didn't find the hammer in Mire, I'm like, this is going to be in, like, Thieves Town, isn't it? Like, at this point, because I had the small key and the big key and... Yeah, and then it was in the attic. I was like, this placement's terrible.
As you got to that placement, Rex and I had been discussing whether or not it might be one of those seeds where you're supposed to go fish your hammer out of Ice Palace.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably coming up very soon. You know, I think after Thieves, I would have had, like, Pyramid Fairy would have been open, but because I didn't have the flippers, I would have had to actually complete Aga, I think. I don't know if there's, like, a workaround there, but yeah, I probably would have thought about, well, Ice would have been out of logic without the flippers, so I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say what I would have done next, but it felt like the hammer was coming very soon. So to see it in Thieves was, you know, a little bit nice that I got it without having to do like an out of logic Ice Palace, but it was a slap in the face because of the big key just being sitting there in Eastern and not being an Agaseed, you know?
Yeah.
Now, while we've been talking, Jaejo has been finishing this thing out on to Moldorm 2 now. We'll see how cooperative this worm is, and pretty cooperative,
good.
all things considered.
This time around.
Those boots felt pretty stupid too.
Yeah. They were in the dig spot, right? With the shovel?
Yeah, and if I remember, I had the shovel and Ice Palace, I think.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was Ice Palace. And Ice Palace was technically logically locked behind flippers. So they wanted you to do all of that Turtle Rock to get to Mimic Cave just so you can get flippers to go into Ice Cave, just so you can get a shovel to go get your boots.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I had just followed my gut and done the Ice Palace play, I probably end up with the Ice Rod. Like I don't get the big key before I go into Ice, so that still feels bad, but I end up getting the Ice Rod so I could do TR in one go, and I more than likely follow that shovel after the Zora stuff and get my boots much earlier too. So, yeah.
Well, it's
But
hindsight's
it really
2020.
felt like, yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely seemed like the flippers were just going to be sitting there in TR. It was just like, what else am I going to get from there? And it turned out to be nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if Ice Rod was in Turtle Rock as well.
Yeah, it felt good to go in there with 4 keys. That
Yeah,
was the one good thing about it.
You were able to check everything but Trinex, so that's not the worst.
I don't know if you two have been watching the action, but we did get a little Bugnet Aga 2 there from Jaejo.
It was very
Really?
impressive. See, I'm telling you, Bugnet needs to be considered for Go mode. It's a very important item. Petition to make Bugnet part of the Go mode items.
Well, all you have to do is ask the runner-up from last year's main tournament. I'm pretty sure you could get Gamachu on your side with that one.
Yeah, we need a Bugnet % randomizer rice. We're going to see quick work of Ganon here by Jay, I'm sure. Given the incredible amount of heart this seed has given the runners.
Yeah, Moogle, how did you dodge the last 2? We'll have to ask Jaejo as well if he's going to deign to be interviewed after the outcome of this one.
The last 2 what?
The last 2 heart containers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, they must have been like behind Ice Armos or upstairs, I guess, because
Well, and you
I
skipped that
literally checked
Moldorm one
everything.
in Ganon's Tower. I was so disappointed in you. And you passed up
Piece
that
of
1
heart?
rupee on Pyramid. What were you thinking?
Yeah,
You could have had an even 1111 rupee count to end the seed if you just picked that one up.
Oh, that would have been so satisfying.
Maybe I'll go retroactively forfeit. Let me see if I can do that.
All right, GG's for Jay here, finishing up Ganon. And crosses the bridge unharmed for a final time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, 6 seconds, and 32 milliseconds. Well done.
It was a seed that wanted a little of just about everything from both of the runners, and it does look like we're going to get Jaejo to join us here. Just have to wait a moment while he gets all of the technology in order, and here we are. We are joined by the runner-up in today's race. Jaejo, good game to you.
Hey, GG's.
GG.
So what ended up happening was I had also skipped the eastern area completely until much later. So as I was going through the Dark World, I didn't have that Thieves Town big key. And then it started feeling like an Agaseed, so I did the current jump over to Pod. And I got the Ether Medallion, and I noped out. Because it felt like that I was supposed to go to Meyer to get my hammer. And then Meyer sent me to Skull Woods. Skull Woods sent me to Eastern. And that's when I got my Thieves Town big key. But then I was like, what were the odds? The hammer being in the back of Thieves Town 2 times in a row. So I was fixating on the big bomb, but without flippers, and I just didn't know how to do the bomb dupe that way. So I ended up climbing Castle Tower, taking the big bomb in and getting disappointed. So I ended up last locating the hammer there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to bomb dupe without the flippers in that scenario because you can't mirror. At least maybe there is a way.
I looked up the little things, and like there's an Ancilla trick you can do.
Okay.
To swim over to the ice real fast and then mirror. But I've never done that before, and I wasn't going to try here, so I just I did everything I could to avoid Castle Tower. So I just kind of took it in the cheek and gave it a shot, and it missed. So
yeah, well, I thought it was an Agaseed too. But I didn't go over to Pod until I only had Pod Eastern and Catfish left, basically. So, or in the pyramid. So, yeah, I kind of last located that whole area. So I did Graveyard Ledge into the fake flipper, and then I was assuming that my hammer would be in Pod. So as soon as I got the ether, I still cleared all of Pod except for, I think it was the big key chest and the big chest. And then, when I mirrored, I used the flute because I was going to go straight to Meyer. And then I was like, nope, I have to check Eastern while I'm here. So I went back in and got the big key and then proceeded to last locate my desert big, essentially.
Okay.
So yeah, I went to Meyer, I got the fire rod, so I was like, well, I'll do Skullwoods into Thieves Town and then figure out what I'm going to do. And then I got the hammer and I was like, thanks, game.
Yeah, I think I was chasing dungeons at that point. So after the Meyer to Skullwoods to Eastern, that sent me to Desert, and then I actually went to Hera Basement because I was doing everything I could to not.
Where was the Hera Small?
I think it was in Desert.
In the big chest then?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, that was the one. Since the big key was my go, I didn't go inside there for that. Okay, yeah, that was I didn't do Hera Basement, obviously. The only things that I had left were Ice Palace Big and then Armos.
Okay, Ice Rod was my go mode. So I did the Houlihan at the very beginning. Because
and
of,
then,
and
then we got like 1,000 rupees in the first 5 minutes or something. Whatever it was.
I actually didn't have that much. So I did Kakariko, and then I chased the book in Desert Small But after that, I was doing South Shore, and I had just enough rupees to pay off Zora, and I hadn't gone to Pyro Castle yet, so I didn't have my Moon Pearl. Okay. So I ended up leaving Waterfall behind.
Yeah, that's what the guys were saying. I ended up doing Kakariko, and then I had the goods because I had the glove. I did the back of Escape, and then I had a sword and all this stuff. So I was like, I'll just do the front of Escape now. So, like, I remember when I paid the bottle vendor the first time, I paid him with like 400 rupees already at that point. It was just like, I don't know. The rupees were coming from everywhere. The tier 1 pull was red rupees, so I ended up getting a couple of those, and never had to buy bombs because the guards were dropping bombs. So, but I never felt compelled to go to Zora until very, very late.
So now that you two have evened this thing up at a game apiece, what's on tap for Game 3? Anything in the plans yet?
We got to figure out the schedule. We haven't
talked about anything yet, but yeah. I think whenever you're available, Moogle, we can do it on whichever day at the same time if you like.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll chat with you after we get off here, and we'll figure it out. It's a nice long holiday weekend here in the US too, so maybe there's some time over the weekend.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, my schedule's pretty open, so okay. I can do it as early or as late as you want.
All right.
Yeah, looking forward to that Game 3.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we don't get another hard. The pool is pretty small for the next one. Yeah, Broja, McBoss, and Inverted. That's it.
I'm hoping it's going to be the inverted keys, because I think that's probably my best mode, just because I do a lot of inverted every week. So it's pretty fun. This mode is one of my weaknesses.
We should just tell Synac to get it done. Let's do an inverted keys. I'd be up for that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
How do we get the bot to roll that for us?
Maybe we can get an admin to just keep re-rolling it until we get the result we want.
Yeah.
Just make sure you say first try after you get the one you want.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's how that works. So yeah, thank you both for putting on a great show this evening. This was a fun nightcap for the day's action of the 2022 main tournament. Any final thoughts from either of you before we start wrapping this thing up?
Just thanks for getting us on the restream. It's a lot of fun to be able to race in front of a lot of people, and it adds a little bit of stress, which is, I think, is pretty cool for these types of high profile tournaments and stuff. So yeah, thanks for commenting, tracking, putting us on restream, and GG's to Jaejo.
Yeah, definitely. GG's Moogle.
All right, Rex, that sounds like it's time for the two of us to go ahead and do the thing where we say everything that needs to be said at the end here. It's been a pleasure once again, a second day in a row that we got put together. Royale with Cheese did all the tracking for us this evening, making sure that we had any idea what was going on in this keys mode.
Excellent work, by the way. Appreciated it. The tracker's always appreciated because I can't keep track of everything. It's always nice to be able to look down and be like, do we have the big key for such and such dungeon? Ah, yes, it looks like we do.
But yeah, that is, as I was saying, our nightcap for the day's action. But if you need some more Link to the Past rando main tournament in your life, don't worry. We've got a full slate coming at you tomorrow. Saturday, May the 28th is going to be busy. Starting up at 11:10 in the morning, that is a Zen Arcane versus T-Stew matchup on SpeedGaming 2. An hour after that, we have Fred Coughlin and Scottish Brave on SpeedGaming 4. An hour after that, we have Magnet Hands versus 2C on SpeedGaming 5. There are a handful of matches on Saturday that are not going to get restreams, but then later on in the afternoon, we've got one on ALTTP Randomizer, We'll be back on SpeedGaming 5, a couple of games on the 3, one on the 4, all sorts of stuff. If you go to speedgaming.org/schedule, you can find out about all of those matches that are happening and other things that are not necessarily linked to the past randomizer related. You can follow SpeedGaming, SpeedGaming 2 through 6, ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 5. If you need to get more of the tournament or more SpeedGaming in general into your life, if you happen to be proficient in one of a number of foreign languages, SpeedGaming has channels for you as well. SpeedGaming Francés, Deutsch, Portuguese, and Espanol. I think we've about said the things that need saying at this point. Rex?
Sounds like it.
Yeah. If you think I've missed anything, or if you have anything else that you think needs saying, now is the time.
Nothing. You didn't miss anything. And I just want to give my own personal heartfelt thank you to everybody that helps put this thing together, because these are wonderful events, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and I'm glad to see them continue.
Yep, it's always fun when tourney season rolls around. Everybody gets to come out, enjoy a good show, have a good time. And with that, we are going to close things up here for the night. So, for my co-commentator Careless Rex, for our tracker Royale with Cheese, for the runners Jaejo36 and mooglecharm, I am MindDM saying, have a good rest of your night, everybody. We'll see you in the future for some more Link to the Past Rando.
Good night.